Hey, what's up, everyone? It's time to talk some more Guilty Gear. And ArcREVO just concluded as well. So, Killey, tell me about your trip, man, since you were there.
Yeah, it was a pretty good trip. I didn't enter the LCQ. I had friends who did. They did pretty well.
That's good.
Um, yeah, I got a sketch from Daisuke. That was
Cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah, you
The
showed that to me.
Lord, our Lord and Savior Daisuke blessed me.
Did you sign it in blood?
Signed it in blood. Yeah, so Omido, got a picture of Omido after you won ArcREVO, so that was pretty cool.
hmm Cool, man. Did you get
And of
sick?
course, no, I didn't get sick this time,
That's good, man.
surprisingly.
Yeah.
I had pretty bad luck with tournaments and getting sick, but yeah,
Yeah.
managed to dodge that. Yeah, and obviously played the Guilty Gear demo.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got quite a bit to talk about here. I mean, get at first, I guess we should mention that they officially announced the game now. It's
Yes.
called Guilty Gear Strive. What do you think about the name?
I'm impartial to it. Obviously, they highlighted the I and the V to make it go Guilty Gear 4,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a clever way to
It was
do it, I
clever.
suppose.
It was
Yeah.
clever. And it's something that we
Overhaul.
understand. It's something that we
Yes.
understand, which is great.
Yes. But now everyone's fighting on how to abbreviate Guilty Gear Strive. Nobody wants to call it GGS, right? Because it sounds like GG's.
Yeah, that is a
Right? And then it's
problem.
like, oh, how about ST, GGST, and like I don't know if that sounds right. So nobody can kind of come to a consensus on how to abbreviate it.
Uh-oh. That's a problem. I'm just going to call it Strive for now. We also got one more just gameplay trailer in general, and then they announced that the next character they're showing off is Faust.
Yeah. So this is pretty cool. So first of all, when they did the trailer, everyone starts singing along to the song again, and then they got the lyrics right this time, unlike CEO Otaku where it was just shambles.
They had time to practice, right? And they
They
had
had
the
time to
lyrics.
practice. The only thing is that they kind of cheated in the trailer and threw us for a loop because they started playing like the second verse later on and threw us for a loop because like they were playing the first verse and then all of a sudden the second verse comes out at the end and it's like threw everyone for a loop. So they
Yeah.
cheated a little bit, but they got it right. They got it mostly right.
hmm
But yeah, the Faust reveal was cool because um, the Faust trailer will be at Frosty Faustings. And just for some background, the person who created Frosty Faustings, sorry, is Elvin Shadow, and
hmm
he mains Faust,
hmm
right? And this is his own tournament. So for him to be able to get the Faust trailer at his tournament when that's his main character, like Arc System planned that.
That's cool. That's
And
cool.
so that must be like a huge honor for him,
hmm
right? So that's awesome. I absolutely love like the marketing plan from
hmm
Arc System Works. They're just like hitting it out of the park right now. It's
hmm
just awesome. Like taking notice of the community
Yeah,
and little things like that. That's really cool.
that's good. So Faust, he looks kind of like a zombie. I mean, we only saw like a second of him, but he kind
Um,
of looks kind of
I
creepy,
mean,
creepier
I
than
mean,
normal.
Faust is always kind of like gangly and like kind of oddball-ish, right?
hmm
I mean, if we're going back to the story, in the very first Guilty Gear, he didn't have the paper bag in the head, and he was called Dr. Baldhead, and he was like kind of like a villain, kind of went psycho
Mm,
because he lost so many patients.
right.
So so for him to be in like the new outfit is like a full like doctor's outfit and stuff like that. That's kind of cool. Go back to his roots a little bit.
hmm
I don't necessarily think he's evil in that. I think it's just more of like because he's like looking at the cameras, he's kind of like breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. So I still
hmm
think he's a little bit of a goofball. So, but everyone thinks, oh man, he's like all creepy now, and see how that goes.
I can't wait to see him with the new engine too. Like, because all of his moves are pretty crazy, right?
Yeah,
So I want
yeah,
to I want to see like him like summoning like a meteorite or something coming down,
oh
or
yeah.
or
See,
the oil on the floor or whatever, you know? Yeah.
yeah, see how his items change, see what he
hmm
does. Yeah, it'll be really interesting.
hmm
And they'll have a playable demo as well. So I'm wondering if it'll be the same demo or if they make any changes based on feedback.
I really hope they send a demo out to the public at some point too. That'd be awesome. But
Well,
can only hope, man.
the feedback form there had a section where you can fill out your email address, and then the very last question was, did you want to participate in a closed beta?
Interesting. Well,
So,
let's
and
talk about that.
they already said like anybody who attended ArcREVO would be able to participate in the closed beta.
Oh, cool. Right on.
So I'm assuming that's how you get into it in the first place.
Interesting.
It was that feedback form.
Well, let's talk about that right now. This feedback form. Like, what is this all about?
So unfortunately it was more of a questionnaire rather than an actual feedback form.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked you like a bunch of questions, and then you kind of rate what you thought it was, from like it was very bad to like very good or whatever like that, right?
Okay.
So the first would be like, okay, what did you think of the UI kind of thing? Like, was it easy or whatever like
They
that?
asked you
So
that?
yeah, so there was part of the
What?
questionnaire. It's like your opinion on the UI, your opinion on the gameplay, right? Is it too simple or whatever? How easy it is? Um, like little miscellaneous questions. What do you think about the audio design and the graphics, all that, all those little
I thought the
things,
UI was
right?
a placeholder. Why would they ask you about that?
Because I want to know it's because they're if you look at the interviews and stuff like that, their way their design philosophy is based on spectating,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how easy it is for a spectator as well. So the way they put it sounds like they're putting in a lot of thought into the UI,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's hit or miss. Like even like look at the character select screen, right? The way
Yeah.
they categorize characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the UI, how they group the portrait and the health bar with the burst and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like their idea is like they wanted a one-stop shop where
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at, right? Because they said they took notice of where player eye movements are, right? So they're trying to make it like a
Mm-hmm.
one-stop shop for
Mm-hmm.
looking for information and stuff like that.
A lot of
So
it
yeah,
is experimentation. And a lot of it's hit or miss too, in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
I really like the menus so far. The menus they got it spot on. I think are great.
yeah. The in-game menu is fine. I'm not a big fan of the character select screen myself. Like I understand what they're going for here, but I prefer like a very stylized character select screen.
Yeah. 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 I hear you.
Um, yeah. So UI was a question, gameplay questions overall, like if it was too easy, too difficult, did you like it,
What did you
whatever, is
say,
it good or
Killey?
bad? Um, I thought I said it was too easy,
Yeah,
number one.
too easy.
Mm,
Did you put it in all
And
caps like Sanford voice?
no. It was like an actual selection.
Oh, okay.
It was a multiple choice, so you
Gotcha.
couldn't really
Gotcha.
do anything.
Yeah.
And then for the gameplay, it was like okay or whatever like that.
Hmm.
Because I like honestly I barely got to play the demo. The lineups, on Saturday were insane. It was like 1 hour wait times to do a first one, and with damage output being so high, you're like pretty much done in like seconds.
Damn, that
So
sounds worse
imagine,
than E3 when we went to
oh,
play Street
it was,
Fighter.
because they only had 4 setups. They had 4 setups for the
Right.
public,
Right. E-
so it was actually brutal to actually just get to play the demo more than once.
yeah. Damn. And of course, everyone's gonna want to play.
Oh, of
Obviously.
course, man.
Right.
Yeah,
Obviously.
there was like I think they said over the span of the weekend there was like 2,000 people that attended.
Oh my god.
So it was just like I played against people that never touched a fighting game before, or they never
Mm-hmm.
touched Guilty Gear before, or stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So
So you did a lot of experimenting rather than just playing, then, basically.
yeah, I ended up just doing mostly system mechanic testing of what I could figure out anyways. I had like a
Anything.
bunch of I had a Google Doc prepared ahead of time on stuff to test, and
That's
like
good.
couldn't even scratch like 10% of what I wanted to do.
Damn. Anything worth mentioning?
Um, so okay, so the Gatling changes. Everyone's kind of really concerned about the Gatling changes.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's easily adaptable to, but I definitely feel like offense through the Gatling system is very limited. And I think this is probably because a couple of reasons. I think with the damage output being really high right now, being able to like fish with lights and your pressure and then linking into slash heavy slash whatever,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the damage might have been too high, or the
Mm-hmm.
reward might have been too high off of lights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like punch and kick. So some people want to compare the pressure structure to like how SF5 did it. I would say it's more closer to KOF or King of Fighters.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, if you're doing your lights, Like punch and kick, you can Gatling into command normals, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't Gatling into slash or heavy slash. You can also Gatling into D, right? 5D or 2D.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot Gatling out of command normal.
Hmm.
So that's a big change too. So you're basically going like lights into, and then you special cancel, or you go lights into command normal into special cancel.
And there's still a lot of scaling when you start your combos off with lights, right? Or is that be two
Um,
lights, whereas the scaling really starts to kick in?
I wouldn't say the scaling's like really bad, but yeah, I mean, there's obviously a difference.
Yeah.
Like what you can get, your reward off of lights isn't that great.
Hmm.
Um, the dash macro actually felt pretty good to use. I actually like that.
And what is
Like
what is the input to air dash now and dash?
to air dash, it's just a macro. Like there's a
It's just a
actual,
single button.
yeah, you can assign it
Oh,
to a single
I
button
think
now.
I'm just curious what the macro actually is. It's like forward and dust or
I
something,
don't I
or no,
don't
that'd
think
be
so. I don't
throw.
know. I don't think there's any actual input for it. It's just
Interesting.
literally you can assign a button for dashes.
Okay.
And it felt pretty good. I don't think it was a bad idea adding that in, so I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they said you could dash and block without needing to faultless defense,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not frame one block. So
Mm.
so it actually still validates needing to do FD breaking
Okay.
when you dash. So I like that.
I like
That
that.
was good.
Yeah.
That's a good design. The throws being tied to dust essentially gets rid of the option select here, because obviously if you try to do dust and another button, you're going to get burst. But after your burst is used, if you go dust and another button, you'll always get the throw.
Mm.
So you'll get the throw whiff animation. Throws are actually counter hit state if you whiff.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
big.
Yeah.
Imagine juking someone and doing 5D counter hit. And you get that,
Mm.
they get the full
So you get
5D
some.
counter hit combos are insane. I saw someone do a 5D counter hit
Yeah.
anti-air against Potemkin. It was Soul, right? He did a full dust combo, did 70% damage on
Woof.
Potemkin. It was insane. I'm like,
Woof.
holy crap. Just imagine if you juke someone and they throw whiff, trying to tech the throw, and they throw whiff, and you 5D them instead, counter hit.
So the ultimate shimmy, the 70% shimmy,
Oh
basically.
man, that'd be
Mm.
so vicious.
That sounds fun.
Um,
That sounds fun.
it's weird with 5D counter hit because it looks like it's only once, like getting the counter hit, it's only like once per round.
Mm-hmm.
Some from people who were doing testing stuff like that, they couldn't get the 5D counter hit to happen more than once a round. So it was weird.
Mm. Interesting.
So yeah. Um,
That's so. I guess that was intentional, obviously, right? So that
maybe it's intentional. Maybe it's
that's kind
intentional at
of
the
Mortal
moment.
Kombat-ish with the restriction on the amount of
Counter hits,
yeah,
yeah,
crush counters, so to speak.
yeah.
Crushing
Um,
blow. I mean, that is interesting. I mean, you
it
still
it
want
is
that
kind of
5D
weird.
to be rewarding, but
I mean, with
weird.
it doing 70%, I guess like you don't want people just dying off of two 5D combos.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, the zoom in on counter hits weren't as intrusive. Like it feels really weird when you watch it on stream, but when you're playing, it's not as bad.
That's good. That's good to
And it
hear.
just lets you like it's just more there to aid in counter hit confirm, or sorry, like hit confirming, right? Because you got
Yeah.
that big thing. You got time to think a little bit on how you want to like capitalize off of this.
What about the excessive hit stop? Was that annoying?
No, actually, it wasn't too bad. It
That's good.
felt like it just felt like normal. Like just the
Hmm.
regular hit stop was fine. The counter hit, like the regular counter hits that didn't have a zoom in, wasn't too bad as well, and it gives you that extra time to confirm into something good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there's some part of the mechanics that were really weird. Like no air teching was a little bit weird. Gravity felt very vicious. So if you like air to air someone, they
Yeah.
just like fall really fast.
Huh.
So it's like really hard to pick up off of various situations. That
Okay.
doesn't mean ad-libbing is dead. You definitely need there are definitely cases where if you have situational awareness on your hits, you can definitely ad-lib still.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's still intact, which is really good. That's really important. That's like one of the things that like marks Guilty Gear. It's like these scramble situations, and you're getting these like you're navigating through those situations, and then you land those stray hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ad-libbing is really important because you're landing these stray hits, and you need to be able to convert off of it. And
Right.
so that still exists, which is really nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah, because it has a lot of
So
depth,
the
right? That's what we
yeah,
want to
yeah,
maintain as much
that's
as
like one of the
possible.
things that added depth to Guilty Gear.
Right, right.
Um, the RC, like the Roman cancel system, the overhaul of it, best thing they did.
Really?
Seriously,
Okay.
like most people did not like the way Xrd handled the Roman cancels, just because like the whole screen slows down and the opponent's affected by it,
The
no
YRC
matter where they
specifically,
are.
right, was one of the
Like YRC specifically was an
yeah,
issue like that, but
yeah.
like most people did not like the way RCs were implemented in Xrd.
Mm-hmm.
But the way Strive does it, it's so good. So good. And meter's so plentiful in the game, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like really focused around the RC system, which is
Okay.
really cool. So to break down the RC system, um, every RC has like a bubble, like a radius that surrounds you.
Mm-hmm.
Now the opponent has to be in that radius in order for the slowdown effect to kick in. So if they're
Okay.
not within the radius, then they don't get slowed down, which
Mm-hmm.
addresses a big problem with Xr's RC system because you could do it from full screen away and they get slowed down,
Right.
right?
Right.
So like air dash YRC is like really annoying. Defensive fireball YRC is really strong and all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hit like fishing with your longest range poke and then RCing into a full combo, right? Like you hit someone, you RC, you could dash in and get a full
Sounds
combo
like a sin
in
combo.
Xrd, right? So it's like really annoying, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all that is gone in Strive because you can't just fish with your longest poke and RC. They have to be within that radius. So that means you
Interesting.
got to be closer
Mm-hmm.
to confirm off of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the thing, there's a lot of things they didn't tell us about the RC system in the stream. And
Okay.
so one of the things is if you hold a direction, like if the opponent is in the bubble radius, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you RC, if you hold a direction, your character actually like moves forward automatically. It has like this visual effect where it leaves like an after image, and then your character kind of moves in that direction. So if you hold forward, then your character moves forward. And if you hold back, your character actually moves back, like slides back, right?
Okay.
And then if you're in the air, you basically, I don't know if you have an 8-way dash, but you can actually move your character down, right? So if you do like an air RC and then you hold down, your character actually goes down.
Okay.
So, and then then you have your movement options afterwards. So there's like mix-ups where you can go like jump RC, drift down, and then like air dash, late air dash, right?
Hmm. Interesting.
So
Can you RC raw, like without
yeah, you
canceling?
can. Yeah, if you
Okay.
RC raw and neutral,
Yeah.
it's like a blue RC, right?
Is it
And it
still fifty
creates that
percent?
bubble. Yeah, it's every RC is 50%.
Okay. Okay.
What was the game? I forget the latest video that came out. I forget which company released that, but in this 11-minute gameplay footage with higher level players, they're doing crazy stuff. Like I thought the blue RC, like the neutral RC, was like only neutral, not out of hit or block stun. But in that video, you see them. They do like a counter hit, then they jump cancel, then they blue RC. Because like remember, like the RC applies that slowdown, and the neutral RC, what they talked about in the stream was that it gave you extra like hit stop, right?
Yeah.
So you could link moves that you couldn't normally, right? So
Interesting.
I always thought they couldn't be in block or hit stun. So I'm like, well, how do you apply this, right? Like, it seems very difficult to find that situation where you can apply it. But if you'll actually watch this new video, it's cool. They get like Soul does like counter hit, far slash, then he jump cancels it, blue RC drifts down, and then air dashes into like JS and all that combos, right? So you got
Hmm.
the blue RC slowdown to apply to the opponent and comboed off of it. So I think that's actually really cool how they implemented that.
Right. It's like you're
Um,
you're doubling the slowdown from the counter hit.
yeah, exactly. So there's
Interesting.
a lot you can do with that now, seeing it in practice, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's really cool. And being able to like direct how your character moves afterwards, right? Like there's another situation where like someone like jumps and so the guy does a neutral RC and then he drifts back to go for the air grab afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So little
Interesting.
things like that is really cool. Now, here's the thing that they didn't tell us about, and they purposely kept this hidden from us, but the players figured it out like day one.
Okay, what's up?
If you do a special move and then you RC and you immediately put in another special move afterwards or even a super,
Mm-hmm.
you cancel the before the slowdown even comes in. When you input that second special move before the slowdown comes in, it's an immediate cancel. So you don't get the bubble radius, you don't get the slowdown or whatever. It's just like an immediate cancel.
Hmm.
So you're like canceling a special into another special or super right away with
Okay.
no interruption to the gameplay flow.
Weird.
So it's like this little hidden thing. So like the RC system is actually not intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like it carries a lot of depth to the game.
Yeah,
And it's like actually really cool how they've done it.
that's good.
So like everyone calls it fast growing cancels and you like special cancel into another special, which is kind of funny because the abbreviation ends up going as FRC, which is
Mm.
a throwback to the old one of false roaming cancels, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty cool when people discovered that. We're like, oh, that's really cool. Like I didn't know about that, and so it opens up like different opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was really interesting. And then finally, you have the guard cancel RC. So yes, they're baitable.
Okay.
You can block it and not be in the stun state, but the slowdown still applies to you. I'm not sure if you
Mm.
can punish afterwards. I didn't really get to test it out, but yes, they are baitable.
That's good.
So we'll see how that works out. I don't know if they're punishable, but if they are, I mean, that's good. Then that mind game is still in there. Um, yeah, so that's like kind of like the gist of the mechanics. There's a lot of things I can go over the mechanics, but I don't want to do that. Like this video would be like 2 hours long if I try to go over all the mechanics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you played the game, so there's a lot to talk about. But now, these things
Yeah.
you're telling me, you're getting me really excited
It's
because.
actually like most people who were able to spend a lot of time with the demo, they came out with a more positive impression of the game because they got to understand how the game works. Like
Yeah.
movement overall, like it feels like a Guilty Gear game. Like the thing is, everyone's like, oh, this it's like it's not a Guilty Gear game, and I get it. Like after the stream, I was salty,
Yeah.
and when we did that video right after the stream,
Yeah.
took every ounce of my energy like to hide the salt, and I like you could hear it in my voice. I was like not happy,
Right.
right?
Right.
So and a lot of people were, and I think like a lot of thing is like everyone's gonna have like what they feel Guilty Gear is differently depending on which one you started with,
Of
right?
course.
And I feel like for most people, if they started with Xrd or they played Xrd a long time, you kind of get a warped sense of what Guilty Gear is. I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong, but without knowing the retroactive history of Guilty Gear and like how the game has evolved, how the series has evolved over each iteration,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a very narrow view.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you actually watch Sharp Reload and like older Guilty Gear videos, you see some similarities to the way Strive is. Like mid screen, you didn't really get like hard knockdowns most of the time. Like comboing into 2D was like very common, and then you would get your mix up there. But like Xer, it's like very easy to get hard knockdowns, and like to run Oki from mid screen or corner carry in general is vicious,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I feel like if Xr's the only game you played, you have a warped sense of what like Guilty Gear is.
Mm.
You're not necessarily wrong, but you have a limited view. So if you
Interesting.
watch older videos, you'll see there's some similarities between older Guilty Gears and what Strive is trying to do here.
Right. Kind of like how people
S-
compare like Street Fighter to 4 all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I understand.
So yeah, I mean, getting that, see, like I've played all the other Guilty Gear, so I have a like kind of a broader understanding of what Guilty Gear is. But I had to go back and rewatch old videos
Mm-hmm.
of older Guilty Gears to like remind myself how the older games played
Mm-hmm.
because I played Xrd for so long that
Yeah.
that's warped my perception of what Guilty Gear plays like, what it is to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So going back and rewatching older games like gave me that refreshed my perspective on it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I think it's not too bad. Like Strive's shipping up pretty good. There's some fine tuning that needs to happen for sure.
Yeah.
Like like Gatlings. I wish old Gatlings were back. That would be really nice. I wish IBs were changing frame data as usual,
Yeah.
and I feel like damage needs to be toned down a little bit. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
damage is like my least concern because that can always be changed really easily.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, overall, like I'm positive about the game after playing it and after seeing more higher level play of it.
That's cool. Yeah, you got me more excited now that you told me about the counter hit on throw whiff and the RC.
Yeah,
It sounds really deep. That sounds good. I like that.
yeah. So I feel like there's still like depth within the game.
Mhm.
It's just whether people will accept the changes in the game.
Mhm. Interesting. Um. Well, now that we talked a lot about the gameplay after you had your hands on and such, I wanna before we close off this video, it's getting pretty long. I wanna talk quickly about this interview question because a lot of people are
Hmm.
talking about it right now, and it was from this website Technica, and keep in mind that this is a translated interview, so like we're not getting it's not gonna be translated to the best for what I'm about to read here. But let me read off the question. It's regarding the netcode, right? Because a lot of people have concern over the netcode for Guilty Gear, just because they usually always use what's it called, delay based.
Delay base, yeah.
Right. So here's the question. So let me read it off. The question is, this is to Daisuke. The big hot topic in the fighting game community now is rollback netcode. I interviewed French-bred battle director Kamone Serizawa earlier this year at EVO, and he said that adding rollback netcode to his company's game would require a super programmer. What is ArcSys' response to the demand for rollback netcode? And what Daisuke said was really interesting. He said, where we are right now at ArcSys in terms of rollback netcode is we haven't really arrived at the conclusion that we'll need a super programmer as much, as the engineering team is kind of divided actually. There are some that say that this will be really good, and others that say, implementing this wouldn't really work with the Guilty Gear system. And it makes sense for a game like Street Fighter, but how Guilty Gear is designed like this wouldn't really fit the bill. So we're actually right in the middle of investigating on the engineering team on how that might look. So, I mean, this got a lot of people scared, of course, right? Because the people think
Yeah,
it's rollback netcode or bust, right? Because
yeah.
we're, we're kind of like we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel right now, Killey. Like everything's good. The advertising is really good. The community feedback's really good. You getting your hands on it, everything's looking better and better. But one thing that could hold this game back, and it doesn't matter if it's accessible or not, or deep or not, netcode in general is so important for fighting games. So, what do you think after reading this? That response,
Um,
scary, man.
there's a kind of like there's a thing like rollback is really hard to not necessarily really hard like it's challenging for sure. And you kind of need to, when you're developing your game, you kind of need to develop it with rollback in mind, right? Like how to be able to get it implemented properly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it doesn't like the thing is the rollback has to be good. It doesn't matter if you use a rollback netcode if it sucks. Like look at SF5, it uses their own rollback netcode, but it's god awful. It's trash. It's
That is the
unplayable.
worst example of rollback though ever.
Yeah, but
It's
I mean, like that's the thing. That's like the
disgrace.
extreme example of like
Oh yeah.
bad implementation of rollback
Right.
netcode, right? Then you have the like best example, which was GGPO, right? And like that was one of the questions on on the feedback form was like, how important is rollback netcode to you? And obviously, everyone at that I hope to God everyone at that venue just mashed like this is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine.
But
But
but yeah, like I mean, it's quite possible that it doesn't have rollback netcode because they eventually, but like they eventually just come to the conclusion that they can't figure out how to implement it properly, or they just feel like it's not worth the investment. But I'm thinking like with the feedback form and rollback netcode being a question, I think they need an actual like they're gathering like that business case, right?
mm-hmm.
Where it's like here's proof that this is really important to the player base here
Mm.
because they have all these feedback forms and it was like overwhelmingly uh for rollback netcode,
Oh, to give
right?
it
And
back
maybe
upstairs to show them.
yeah, yeah, and
Mm.
maybe that's how that's like the driver to get rollback netcode
Right.
implemented into it, which is what
Right.
I'm hoping for.
Because I find it interesting they said that it's like it might be something for Street Fighter, not for Guilty Gear. But like we've had many cases of fast-moving fighting games that use rollback very successfully.
Yeah, there's ways to always implement rollback netcode, right?
There has to be.
It's just like you need to be able you need to be able to like sit down and look at it and go, how do we get this to work? Like there's definitely no excuses
Yeah.
for not being able to implement it. Like I
Yeah.
don't buy that it like whether like it doesn't really work with Guilty Gear. Like
Not in this
no,
year. Yeah.
no man. The technology is there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. I'm really interested to see how that turns out. Really
Yeah,
am.
I mean obviously everyone's crossing their fingers
Oh yeah.
so badly that
Definitely.
Rollback gets implemented into this. It'd be a
Mm-hmm.
huge step for fighting games to see more good implementations of rollback netcode.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you say rollback netcode, you have to actually use good with it. Otherwise it's like what? So 5 had rollback netcode.
Uh, I guess before we close this off, I also have another question, Killey. Like for the people, well, it's just two questions basically. For, like from your impression of watching the game and now playing it, like what do you think? Do you think it's gonna help players like that are not good at fighting games or don't have as much time to get into this? Like, do you think they were successful
Um,
on making it
I,
accessible?
I think I think they've definitely simplified Guilty Gear, but they haven't dumbed it down.
Okay.
Like it's the gap will always be there.
Yeah.
Like don't think just because they've taken away some of these mechanics that any Joe Schmo can pick it up and be successful.
Right.
No, that's not the case whatsoever. And
Mm-hmm.
that will never be the case with any fighting game.
It's
You
true.
can't just like unless it was like RNG nonstop, but that's
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a fighting game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But like no, you still need to know how to play Guilty Gear. You still need to have fighting game fundamentals, right? You still need to be able to convert and all that stuff, and like all the major things that make up Guilty Gear and make up its depth, um, is still present in Strive. There's some things that are missing for sure, like instant blocking, not reducing block stun and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Or changing frame data. Yeah, there's some things that are removed that I'd like to see come back because it adds a level of additional levels of depth and interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But no, overall, you still need to have like you need to know Guilty Gear.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to play Guilty Gear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you need to be able to play the older games, like that to have played the older games in order to succeed in this game. There's definitely, I feel like there's going to be a shift in the player base, but that's true for any fighting game that has gone through multiple iterations. Like look at Street Fighter, right?
Yeah.
Every major iteration of Street Fighter makes major changes to the gameplay, to the
Yeah.
mechanics, and everything. And
Yeah.
there's always a changing of the guard, right? There's always changing of the player base because not everyone likes the new game.
That's right.
And so, yeah, we'll definitely see that in Strive. There'll be a change of the player base again.
Interesting.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
So, when's the next time we're gonna hear some more Guilty Gear news?
Frosty Faustings,
Okay,
which is
and then that's where the Faust could be playable and all that.
no, I don't think Faust would be playable there. I'd be really surprised if
But you
like
said there was
because
another demo there, wasn't there?
there's gonna be another demo there, but the
Oh,
reveal trailer for
sorry. What?
so
What was that, Kill? You cut us for a second.
oh
Sorry.
sorry, there will be another demo there, but the reveal trailer for Faust, like the actual gameplay trailer for Faust.
Oh, I understand.
So
Oh,
I'd be quite surprised if he was playable at Frosty Faustings.
okay.
I'd also be surprised if they actually like changed up the mechanics, like they actually used the feedback form and made some changes
Yeah, I'd be
or
excited
something
for
like
that
that.
too, because they said nothing is
If
in
they,
stone. Nothing is.
yeah,
So
I mean, if they did, that'd set a huge precedent
yeah,
for the development of Guilty Gear, because then you could see like major changes along the different events. Because
absolutely.
remember, after Frosty Faustings, the next demo and the next trailer will be at Evo Japan, which is about 2 weeks after Frosty Faustings, I think.
Hmm. Okay.
So yeah, and so we're getting a steady flow of information,
Yeah.
right? So this is huge, man. Like I don't think I've seen any other fighting game that just gave us like this kind of steady flow of info, right? Like SF5 was like the closest to that,
Mm-hmm.
but there were still like big gaps
Mm-hmm.
between character reveals and information. But
Mm-hmm.
Guilty Gear, man, they're just like one thing after another. Like every couple weeks,
Yeah,
right?
it's refresh. It's
We're getting
refreshing, man.
new.
It's refreshing.
It's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge, man.
Well, We better close this off, Killey. It's getting quite long. There's
Yeah,
so much to talk about. But I
there's
mean,
so much to talk about.
we'll talk about more, obviously. Next update, we'll keep everyone informed on what's going down and to see if they change any of the mechanics and whatnot. And we'll see what other characters they announce for the game. But it does seem like it's shaping up really nicely. Let us know in the comments below, what do you guys think about Guilty Gear after listening to this video, on your opinion on the mechanics, accessibility, and which characters would you guys like to see added to the final roster as we're getting closer and closer here to the game's release in 2020. And Guilty Gear Strive, what do you guys think about the name? Let us know in the comments below. Please like the video, guys. It really helps out. Of course, subscribe to the channel, and me and Killey will be back soon enough.
Click that bell.
Yeah, smash that bell, even though it doesn't do anything. All right, take care, everyone.
All right, see you guys.